Hi there. In this video, I'm going to share a mock-up of my assessment app, known as APPssessment. APPssessment is designed to facilitate group assessment and student self-assessment. To be effective, both students and teacher need to have access to the app. Ideally, this access is with a mobile device of some sort. I want to start the demo off by looking at APPssessment for teachers. So if this was the interface, I could just touch on teachers here, and the teacher would get a quick overview of their courses. In the real version, a teacher could just scroll up and down on the screen. To add a class, the teacher would swipe right, and to delete a class, the teacher would swipe left. The swiping instructions wouldn't appear on the actual app. So let's see what's happening in AP World History. Here I have two options, Create Assessment and Manage Students. So I'll just click on Create Assessment, and we're going to go back to Manage Students at the end of the presentation. From this view, I can give the assessment that I'm creating a title, and I can add questions. Again, it's swipe right to add a question, swipe left to delete a question. Of course, these instructions wouldn't appear on the actual screen. So admittedly, this would be easier if it was attached to a website. Then the portion of adding questions could be done on a desktop by the teacher. But anyway, from this view, we can add a variety of questions. So I'll just pretend I'm swiping right to add a question here. And I can add different types of questions, so open-ended questions, spectrum questions, multiple choice questions, now again, the screen will scroll down as far as you need to go in order to accommodate all questions. Once the assessment is complete and a title has been given, it can be assigned to either a group or an individual. I'll start off with an individual assessment. Individual assessments are the simpler of the two options. From this view, a teacher can see all the students registered in their class. If the teacher wants to send the assessment to specific students, they can tap the names of the students they want to receive the assessment. So here you see student A has been tapped, student E has been tapped, student J has been tapped. If the teacher wants to send the assessment to everybody, they can click on Assign All Students individually. So let's just do that for now. The app's main selling feature is the group assessment, and it can be used not only to record information, but also to improve collaboration amongst students. So let's just look at the Assign to Group feature. Here, the teacher can make groups by dragging students into a desired column, or if the teacher wants to save time and make groups randomly, they can click on Sort Groups Randomly. So let's just try the random groupings here. APPssessment automatically sorts the students into pairs, groups of 3, 4, or 5. So we'll try groups of 4. From this view, I can assign a name or topic to each group. So this is really ideal for jigsaw activities or other activities where not all groups are working on exactly the same thing. And click here to send the assessment. So look at this from the student's point of view. So we're in student view, and we can see a list of courses that our sample student here is enrolled in. The student can touch to enter any of the courses, And they can also join a class. So this is similar to Edmodo, where a student would need to enter a class code or be confirmed by a teacher. So check this out. Join new class, you have enter class code, you write it right there, and then submit to join the class, and then you can get added to the class that way. So we'll look at Grafton's AP World History here. So again, to get in this, the student would just tap there. So right away, I get an overview of all the group assessments and self-assessments in the course. And let's have a look at this Learnist Project group assessment. Right away, the student will see the name of their group as well as the classmates that they will be working with. So APPssessment becomes a really efficient way of sorting students into groups. Students just check their mobile device to find out what group they're in. And remember, the teacher can sort randomly or manually. So I check my mobile device, or the student checks their mobile device, they find out who they're working with, and then they can click here for the group assessment. And we're brought to a page with a series of questions. Again, the screen will slide down to accommodate the questions. And this page essentially works like a Google Docs or real-time wiki. Any group member can edit the page and save their changes. So a student can make changes to the group assessment, and when they're happy with the group assessment, they will click Confirm Assessment. And this brings a student to a page that lists the group members who have confirmed the assessment, as well as the group members who still need to confirm the assessment. And the important thing here is that the group assessment will not be submitted until all the group members have confirmed. And then if one group member goes back and makes changes to the group assessment, then all the confirmations get cancelled and need to be reconfirmed again. So this works the same way with individual assessments, but a submission doesn't have to go through the same confirmation process if it's just the individual. So it's easier to hand in the assessment if you don't need the cooperation of everybody in your group to hand it in as well. So we'll go back to the interface and I'll look at the Manage Students section. So we're going back into Teacher View here. And I'll click on AP World History again. That's the course we're working with. Manage Students. And again, I get a list of all the students who are in AP World History. I can scroll down to see the students, swipe right to add a student, swipe left to delete a student. And when I click on a student, I'll get a list of the assessments the student has completed so far for me. And I'll just look at this Learnist Board assessment, or the individual assessment, for example. So this was an assessment that a student completed. It was just answering a couple questions on a Likert scale of 1 to 3, a couple 21st century, or a few 21st century skills that they answered here, and this would come right to me. Now, ideally, I would be able to view this from an outside website, so I could just get one overview of all the assessments a student has handed in using APPssessment. So I would envision it looking something like this. Just a website that's sort of separate from the app that just pushes all the assessments, whether it's a group assessment or individual assessment, that a student hands in. So just to close off, I want to go over some of the advantages of the app and just give some sort of final thoughts on it. So APPssessment, I think it's good because it facilitates student groupings. A teacher can drag and drop or randomly generate to make groups, and a student can just check their app if they forget who is in their group. The student groupings are recorded, so there's no sneaky students trying to switch groups. Everything's recorded, everything's on the device. The teacher can get a quick overview of who's working in each group. Really importantly, all the assessments are recorded and archived, so there's no paper to lose. And the app encourages cooperation amongst a group of students. So the other important feature is when you're doing a group assessment, all students have to sign off on a group submission before it can be submitted. I think the app facilitates conferencing between students and teachers because it gives a teacher really something concrete to talk about when they sit down to speak to a student about the work that they've been doing. The app obviously collects evidence that can be used to report in report cards or later during parent-teacher conferences. I think the app can be adapted to work with a variety of different age groups, not just age groups, but subject areas as well. And finally, I don't really think the app is just restricted to academics. I could envision a basketball team using this to reflect on a game or a practice, for example. So I think it works well with extracurricular activities. So that's just a quick overview of my app, some ideas of what it can do. I developed 4 lesson plans, and then in each of the lesson plans I incorporated the app, some lessons to a greater extent than others, but the app is in all 4 lesson plans. So thanks for taking the time and listening to my mock-up app.